Shut up and sit down.
It's where the big boys play. SICW.
Welcome to Square Root Podcast, everybody. Episode number 100. That's right. We made the milestone. We originally had our first guest appearing as our 100th guest, which was Mr. Herb Simmons, but he is not feeling up to being on tonight. Not feeling well. So instead, we're going to do some WWE talk on John Cena and his turn and what it means and if it's going to bump the ratings on Raw and WrestleMania. See what happens.
I say let's just jump into it. So John Cena turned against Cody Rhodes at the Elimination Chamber. Yes. And a lot of people are comparing this turn to Hulk Hogan turning in WCW and joining the NWO. There's been a lot of comparison back and forth on the internet. And I mean, I can see where they had a comparison, but technically it's totally different because the NWO was the NWO. You know, it was 3 members. You know, it was a heel faction group. I think that is the heel faction group is I wouldn't even say 2 guys as a group. So, you know, it's The Rock, it's John Cena, and that's all we know. But yeah, this is John Cena's supposedly last run with the WWE, and The Rock, you know, requested Cody Rhodes' soul. And he said he was going to come to the Elimination Chamber and, you know, get Cody Rhodes' answer. And Cody Rhodes looked at him and said, "Fuck you, Rock." You know? So everyone was like dramatic that he even cussed. But I think the dramatic part came when someone who was in the back of this conversation, John Cena, and every time that Cody Rhodes spoke about being the good guy and selling his soul to the fans in the WWE, you know, John Cena was in the back clapping his hands, saying, "All right," you know, and then, you know, went to hug Cody Rhodes and looked over at The Rock, and The Rock just like, you know, slid the whole thumb underneath his chin, saying, you know, now's the time. And John Cena backed up and kicked him right in the dick. And then just went at it from there. All 3 of them. Well, so there's another guy in there. There was a rapper in there. Travis Scott, I think was his name. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, so The Rock beat him with, you know, that... I think he actually beat him with the belt too, but I want to say it was his back brace as well. But all 3 of them. Yeah, all 3 of them. Yeah, kind of, huh? But yeah, all 3 of them pretty much will beat him up. And there's even some clips from after they went off the air of Travis Scott really just hauling back and smacking John Cena. And don't think he pulled that at all. It was just you know, a really good smack. And The Rock did a press conference after that and talked about how he told Travis if he got involved that he better make sure he got his hands dirty. And I guess that was the all clear for him to do whatever he wanted. And he smacked Cody Rhodes pretty hard. So what's your thoughts on that, Bobby? Big heel turn for John Cena.
I say I like it. It's been rumored for a decade, but I guess it's also unexpected because you only got Cena for a month. Supposed to retire after Mania next month, isn't he?
I heard it was supposed to go in December.
You know, and that's the thing. I've heard both. I've heard that he just wanted to get his last title run, but then again, you know, he kept saying it was going to be his last run. You know, so if he gets the title at WrestleMania, does that mean his last title run? Like whenever he loses the belt, he's going to quit, or if he gets the belt, then he retires. I don't foresee him retired because I think this is going to be what WWE needs and what Netflix needs right now for the ratings.
Especially the numbers falling. They're down close to going out of top 10.
I was like,
Well-
they have the money to keep him there, but he's also getting pretty popular in the movies and TV show world too,
Yeah, but
which is much easier on your body.
yeah, but I always talk about how the Bloodline story and the Cody Rhodes story meshing together is what actually got me back into watching WWE. And over the last couple of weeks, I was like, well, there's no interest in it right now because they were they were having the same matches. Like I said, it was the same 5 or 6 guys. They were just rotating on who was facing who. So there was no real story anymore, since the whole Bloodline went against the original Bloodline, or new versus old. That kind of, and Cody Rhodes captured the belt, so that was the end of his story. So there was nothing, I would say just watching CM Punk doing what he does is what has kind of kept me, but even that was getting old. So I think this is what they need to pump some more people coming through and bringing the ratings up. Like I said,
Cody and Cena were both popular baby faces, but there can only be one going into the rest of the year. So Cena's turn could be, in a way, just passing it on to Cody Rhodes, and then Cena wins it coming up, and then in December loses it to Cody and retires then.
and I've heard that too, that people say, oh, he's just doing it to drive a heel versus baby at WrestleMania, and that once he wins the belt, of course, he'll turn face again and then bow out. But I really feel that you can't have this dramatic turn and only let it last for a month. I think the money's going to be there for Cena. I think it's going to build the storyline, and I think it's going to build a great storyline.
Well, that's why I think it's going to go until December, and then Cena will lose it to Cody in December.
Yeah, definitely. It could be like that. I don't know. I never really pictured him as the heel, but I tell you, as soon as he hugged Cody and looked at The Rock and gave that face that he gave, it just like sealed it for me. I was like, yeah, this is finally going to happen. Like you said, Bobby, they always talked about it, and then there always one reason or another for them not to pull the trigger on it. And he's like the top guy for Make-A-Wish. Matter of fact, he did Make-A-Wish before the Elimination Chamber started, and was talking to the kids, and signing autographs for them and everything. And they were all, going over his thing, loyalty, respect, and everything. And then that should have been what they should have interviewed those kids after the Elimination Chamber, because I think they would have gave their most honest opinion of what they thought about John Cena now.
You saying loyalty and respect. I got to mention my favorite Facebook meme I seen today on this whole thing. Actually, it was a TikTok video. There's a guy walking away and said, going to cheat on my wife because I was a lifelong Cena fan, and now I know that loyalty and respect mean nothing.
I seen one earlier that had the NWO logo on the screen, and John Cena's back of his head was the O for the NWO. I thought that was pretty funny too, because I actually got in the conversation. Me and the wife were watching it together, just this match, and we were both talking about his hair, and I said, you think with the amount of money this guy has, and he went away for a while, and when he did come back, he got called out on his hair, and then went away for a while again, that somewhere around that time period, he could have got something done about his hair loss.
Get that Vince McMahon hair plug treatment?
Well, not even that. I'm sure since the 80s, they made so much more advancement in that. I never searched it out. It's just easy for me to pick the thing. But with the amount of money, and since he is a movie star, you would think he would have done something about it. But who knows? I'm sure he's got his reasons. But the next topic I wanted to talk about was what happened. Well, let me just thumb through down. So Elimination Chamber. We had the ladies' Elimination Chamber, and that was actually pretty good too. So I do recommend watching the whole thing because the women went at it, and Liv Morgan and who was the other girl? The lady with the very long black hair.
Bianca Belair.
Bianca, yeah. I mean, they were just fighting each other left and right. And
that hair whip she did to her side left that big old welt on there.
Yeah, Liv Morgan, she posted a picture of all the bruises. Not all the bruises. It's just a picture, but it showed all the bruises that she got from that match.
That hair whip on her side showed up immediately after.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a delayed effect.
But it also showed who took out Jade, when she got hit by a car. And that was Jay Uso's wife? I'm bad at her name too.
Naomi.
Naomi. Man, I can't even pronounce it. So that's how bad I am. But yeah, so Jay went right after her, started beating her up. But yeah, so that was a good match. The whole pay-per-view was actually good. There wasn't a whole lot of matches though. They had Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, it was kind of funny. Just it was supposed to be an unsanctioned match, so they lowered the lights. Well, they dimmed the lights. The ref was wearing all black instead of a regular ref outfit. I guess to give the atmosphere that this is unsanctioned. But they beat the piss out of each other. Pretty good. And then the surprise Randy Orton came back and went right after Kevin Owens. Let's see here. What other matches were there? It might have been it. Might have been
Men's Elimination Chamber?
Yeah. Of course, we all know
Men's Elimination Chamber
on that one. So Monday Night Raw. Oh, what is that?
That's her bruises. That's Liv's bruises.
Oh, I thought we were going to X-rated or something with that because I don't remember.
We're far enough in that I could post it and we didn't have a problem, but she looks like she got ran over by a car. There's that hair whip of yours, Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah, Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae.
I forgot about that match, and I think it's because I skipped it. I didn't watch it. Matter of fact, I didn't even know Trish
Stratus did have Nia Jax in it. So.
Huh?
It did have Nia Jax in it, so it's understandable.
Yeah, I didn't even know Trish Stratus was going to be on the pay-per-view. I don't watch a whole lot of SmackDown. There's always something else to do on a Friday, so it's like
I watch more SmackDown than Raw.
It's kind of like AEW. I actually kind of quit watching AEW. Kind of should get back onto that. It's just so much wrestling. Even before this podcast came on, I was watching WrestleMania 2. So I still watch wrestling. It's just it's hard to get the current stuff in. But so what I wanted to talk about on Raw, CM Punk started it off. he was hitting the mic talking about who he should mess up next because he wants that title shot at WrestleMania. He wants to headline WrestleMania. And everyone was, in the audience was calling out John Cena and calling out The Rock. And then Seth Rollins' music hits. And, CM Punk met him on the walkway, and they just started going at it. And even when they got separated, of course, big pull apart, they still went at it. And then later on Raw, they did a backstage segment where they were still going at it. So that was like probably the highlight of Raw, except for when it comes to Rhea Ripley. Ripley.
You had a title change.
Yeah, and it was, a shocking title change, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because Rhea Ripley literally just came back. She was out with that shoulder injury, but she came back. She fought Liv Morgan, won the belt back from her, and lost it last night to Leo Sky. This is where I kind of get my thinking cap on, is why did that happen? Do they want, of course they want Belair versus Leo Sky, I guess. But I guess my only thought is sometimes they switch things so rapidly because they don't want like two people going at it, so they'll give it to another person and then have that person, have the challenger win it from that one instead. So I guess in my thinking cap, they didn't want Bianca versus Ripley just yet, or if anything. So they made Rhea lose it to Leo Sky so Bianca could win it from Leo Sky. I don't know. It's just what I'm thinking. It just puzzles me that the most talked about woman on Raw, being Mommy, wins her belt back finally, after coming back from an injury, and then loses it right away. It's the only thing I can come up. What do you think, Bobby?
I think that they just realized that Leo Sky is cuter and a better wrestler, so better ratings.
Yeah, but Leo Sky has been on Raw the same time Rhea Ripley has. And, everyone is talking about Rhea Ripley. So
they gave her a chance, it didn't work out.
Oh, wow.
I was talking with some friends about like how I feel like they fumbled the entire Judgment Day thing and all the stuff with Rhea Ripley and all that. Like, I think they should have made Rhea Ripley the leader of Judgment Day.
Well, the word is that, what was his name? Black? It wasn't Tyler Black, was it?
Aleister Black.
Yeah, he's no longer being registered on the AEW roster sheet anymore as Malachi. So the rumor has it that he's going to come back and he is going to lead that group. And that's why they keep, Carlito and Dom keep saying, well, we should add another member. We should add another member. So that is
you could do something a little fresh and not done as much, like a strong female in charge of a dominant male group. That's something that's not done much.
Yeah, but I want to call that a dominant male group.
No, that's also, again, part of the fumbling. You have.
I was just chatting on another.
What was the Finn Balor one? It was like when he hurt his shoulder.
Yeah,
it was when they first recombined the titles.
Mm-hmm.
You put a guy
first
like
Universal Champion.
Yeah, you put your first Universal Champion in the group, and then he loses nonstop.
Right.
He has something with the whole demon thing, and you have the Starker group, and then he's never the demon.
Yeah, and they were talking about that too, because on last week, not this past Monday, but last week, they did a backstage promo with him and the other guys in that group, And in the very back, there was a picture of the demon. And so everyone was thinking, oh, there was a picture that's a symbol that they're saying that the demon's going to come, which is fine. You know, he was very popular becoming the demon and having him wrestle both ways like that as the demon and as himself. But, you know, you got Dom in there, and he is not a dominant character. People hate him because he's one of those spoiled little back talkers. But as a dominant big heel, I don't think he is.
No, he's more of your Ted DiBiase / Virgil of the NWO. He's your one that can pull out some wins because he's entertaining, he's a good wrestler, but he's usually not going to.
I would more or less call him the Timu of Ted DiBiase or someone like that. Cause
no, we're not talking full on regular Ted DiBiase. I'm referring just NWO Ted DiBiase.
the non wrestler Ted DiBiase of the NWO.
Yes. And go send Virgil in.
Oh yeah. I was on a podcast earlier yesterday. No, it was Sunday. And I chimed in because they were talking about Liv and Raquel winning the tag straps. And I chimed in. I said they can do the Freebird rule now. You know, have Dom just tag in and out with them. You know, because he fits right on. I mean, he's going to be down there for every one of their matches. He's going to cause their matches to go their way every single time. So fuck, you might as well just put them in the tag team then and just have them do the Freebird rule. And, you know, I'm sure there's plenty of women wrestlers, you know, that they even had a match last night on Raw. I don't know her name. She's in the American Academy or something like that. And she is, I think it was her. She's a brick shithouse, man. And she can definitely wipe the floor with Dom, you know, anytime they step into the ring. So they could definitely do the Freebird rule. Nate, do you know what the Freebird rule is?
No.
All right. So the Freebirds was a team of 3 people.
No, I know who the Freebirds are. I know who they are. I don't know what the rule is.
So in WCCW, this is where it started, they won the tag straps. And they created they call it the Freebird rule, where any 2 of the 3-man tag team can defend those belts at any given time. So it didn't have to be, you know, Bam Bam Gordy and now I'm having a brain loss of the other 2 members, but which is a shame because I know the people out here watching this is going to give me some crap about it.
But why Bobby and I aren't helping you.
Michael P.S. Hayes is one of them, and Rogers, I think, was the 3rd one. But yeah, so any one of those 3, and I think even Ronnie Garvin, at one point in time became another one.
And James is going to be upset with you.
Yeah, he will be. Because they're definitely a dominant tag team in the Texas area. But yeah, so when they won the belts, they did a thing where any 2 of those members can defend those belts. And so you had multiple different, you know, tag teams going after them, and it could be any one of those 2. And that's what I'm saying, that, you know, Dom being short, well, he's taller than his dad, but he's still a slender wrestler that he can go one-on-one with some girls too. So, you know, and they could probably still wipe the floor with him.
Well, he's attached to the hip at Liv anyway, isn't he?
Right. But I think out of Raw, those are the 2 highlights. You know, Rhea Ripley losing her title, and CM Punk. It looks like CM Punk and Seth Rollins is going to head to WrestleMania. I don't think it's what CM Punk wanted, you know, because he wanted his dream or his goal has always been to headline WrestleMania. And of course, I don't think he's going to be the headliner. He might headline night one, but definitely Cody Rhodes versus John Cena is going to headline day 2 of it.
Now, did you get the last name of the Freebirds? Because I looked them up. I thought I heard you say Michael P.S. Hayes and Terry Bam Bam Gordy. Did you say Buddy Jack Roberts?
Roberts. I said Rogers, I think. But Roberts, yeah. That was, they're a great tag team. Wild people behind the scenes. And when they first came to WWF at the time, they only lasted one show, and they got so drunk that Andre kicked them out, basically fired them.
And when I typed in Freebirds Wrestling, one of the first questions pop up, what is the Freebird rule?
Right. But, I have not heard anything dramatic about AEW. Normally when you're, watching the internet for headlines for wrestling, they compare WWE and AEW really back to back. And for the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty much nothing really happened in AEW. So I guess I haven't lost much by watching it.
What was that?
But I think everybody's just figuring AEW is going to be dead now.
Well, one of your biggest things with AEW is they rapid fire dream match after dream match after dream match, week after week with no build-up. Now you're out of stories and dream matches.
Yeah.
You're not out, but they're going to be harder to find.
Yeah. That's it in a nutshell. I think we've mentioned that before, that without storylines or a prolonged story, it's nothing to bring the fans in except for one night when they know, 2 people that they want to see go at it are going at it. But what's going to keep them there? And I think that's their problem.
Well, they need to come and watch the storyline with Brandon Beretta, Joey, and everything that's happening there. Maybe they'll learn something.
Yeah. That's probably going to headline a few shows because, you got Brandon Beretta, kind of flipping on Joey. You thought they patched it up, but it's.
Strictly business is going on NWA, so.
Yeah, I think it's already been announced that the April 5th show, I think we might see that match. I'm pretty sure that's been announced. I might be wrong about that, but who knows? They've been a tag team forever. They just might patch things up, and they'll just keep going after the SICW tag team titles, or a lot of times, Brandon is a big person that we follow here on this channel. But sometimes when you go out to other places, they say that you can get a big ego or a big head. And that might be happening right now where, he feels when it comes to SICW, Joey is bringing him down, and I can see it. Brandon is, like I just said, he's going out to other organizations. He's working his tail off. He's getting seen. He's getting some momentum behind his name. Next month, he's got a shot at WLW's heavyweight title. So he's got some things on the horizon, and SICW is home. So when he comes home, who wants to be dragged into a tag team match when you've been working independently for yourself for so long?
And who knows, how much he's on the road, how much he's in other locker rooms now, who's getting in his ear and saying things too.
Right. Give me 1 second here.
I don't know. When I was talking to him last night and today, I wasn't getting in his ear about nothing.
Well, the last time he was on the podcast, he said he wanted a match with me. He says, I might have to see what I can do to straighten him out.
There you go.
Well, he's kind of turning heel, so you get your shot.
Yeah. Speaking of, our shows, Saturday we just had a show. Did not quite go so well for me on my behalf. I had a shot at the Central States title.
I warned you that mother sucker is always got things up his sleeve.
Yeah, and he definitely had Trent Daniels in his pocket, in his corner, and I had to fight off both of them. When he was in the ring, because he took a lot of time on the outside of the ring. At one point, he even picked up his belt and started to leave. But then he came back, and then some misdirection happened, and I ended up hitting the ref and got disqualified and lost that shot at that title. But I'm hoping I get another, because I would love to beat that guy's ass. I chopped him a pretty good couple times, and I even got, chopping the chest, is a pain, when you get chopped. But I tell you, one thing that's worse is when you get chopped in your back. And I was able to get one of those in there, and
Nice.
yes, I heard that guy screaming. But at the end
He
of the day,
does scream a lot.
at the end of the day, I did not accomplish what I set out to do, but hopefully I do get another shot there.
Well,
I don't know. The rumor is, Jim, you hit the ref on purpose.
I was not trying to hit the ref, but
You weren't not trying.
well, they were both in the corner.
In his defense, he has told us on multiple times, by the time he gets to that part of a match, his contacts are usually out and he can't see where he's hitting.
Well, and speaking of that,
That's true.
he did eye gouge me when I was laying. At one point, he had me on the mat, and he was just. It wasn't a really iron claw look, but it looked like an iron claw, but it was just all in the eyes.
So the Stan Hansen defense.
Yeah, I'm going to use that one.
Well, on a more positive note, my match did go my way.
Rub it in. Where's the salt, Bobby? Where's the salt?
I just ran out with dinner. I was making tater tots.
Grab the lemon juice. I know you have cocktails over there.
Went against who was my partner? It's been a long weekend. Oh man, who was my partner?
You wrestled with too.
I went against Steven Fender and Kowalski though, and I did pick up the win over Kowalski with the pinfall. So that's got to put me in a title shot.
Let me check the footage really quick. You guys talk along. I'll see who your tag team partner was.
That's pretty sad, Bobby. You can't even remember your tag team partner.
Oh, it's Joey. We already talked about Joey.
It was Joey.
Oh, okay.
The forgotten Top Gun.
Oh my God.
No, he's a good kid, but again, it was been a long weekend. Like the whole weekend, the earliest I went to bed was 1 o'clock. With getting up at 6 a.m. to either run tournaments or coach tournaments or both every day.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, you're coaching the future Olympians, so take sacrifice.
And your son, your oldest son, took first place this weekend, right?
Yeah, but he acted a little more like Brandon Beretta when he's in his first place match, a little disrespectful, but.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, he decided it was a good idea while he was pinning his opponent to face the other team's coaches and blow them a kiss.
I wonder where he learned that, Bobby.
Not me. I was yelling at him as soon as he did it.
Oh, that's funny.
Not nice, but funny.
A little bit of arrogance never hurt anyone.
We're trying to teach a little bit of sportsmanship.
Yeah, but arrogance gets you noticed. No, just fucking with you.
If you want to talk about him getting noticed too, in that same match, this is his first place match, the hardest match it's supposed to be. He gets wound up in a position where the guy's got him in a single leg, his legs up here, they're standing, and he backflips on one leg to get out of it. And then when he's told it's illegal, he goes, I know, I needed it for my highlight reel.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, that's going
No offense
above,
on that
kind of
one,
going a
buddy.
little too far on that one.
Yeah.
That's going to be a detriment. He does that too much.
Yep. The other guy got a point for it and everything. He's like over there walking by the whole time we're talking about this.
Oh, good. If he hears from other people, good job. No. That's awesome. Let's see here. We got another show this month. It's on the 29th. It's in East St. Louis at the Shriners Temple.
That belt behind you?
Huh?
That belt behind you?
Yes, that one right there is going to get defended. So it's the last
we know
gold
that
belt
match,
that
and
we
know
have.
Like I said, we know that match and we know the women's match, but we don't know any other matches, do we?
I don't even know my match.
I just mean we know that that's going to happen.
Yeah, we know Lilith's match and we know Jem's and nobody else's.
Well, I know one other. So Kowalski is going against Gary Graham. He is from the Arkansas area. What's the one he normally wrestles for? Mid-States Wrestling. So he's coming up. He tagged with me a long time ago, maybe over a year, maybe close to 2 years. When I was, it had to be over 2 years ago because it was me and him versus Attila and Prater. So it's been a long time, but last year he came and he wasn't on the card, wasn't there to wrestle, was just there to, hang out with the guys in the back. And he ended up coming out and helping Jason Breed. Jason Breed was getting the beat down from it might have been from Attila and the whole little clan there. But he came out and Kowalski was involved in that match. And I think that's why he's coming back to go against Kowalski. So I guess he was, I think it had to be Jason Breed.
That's a 1 year vendetta.
Well, it's unfortunately, that might change. But the unfortunate part right now is this show only happens once a year. Now, they have said last year that they were thinking about changing that up and trying to get us to do a monthly show out there. So if that's the same attitude or the same, collective thought, that would be cool to do a show out there once a month because it's a beautiful building and it's stadium seating. So it's built for a wrestling show. And even if we, just took the TV tapings out there, that would be great looking,
For sure.
But we would probably have to do it as a show, get those fans in that building and show how many people could fit in there because it can fit a lot. I mean, they used to do circuses out of that building, with the lions and the elephants and everything. So it's a pretty big building and, just the architectural stuff in that building and the building itself just looks amazing.
And there's a hidden giant Shriners hat. I'll have to send that to you, Nate, so you can pop it up. I had to go up like 3 hidden attics where the ladders were not under OSHA regulation. Like I'm climbing these things and they're missing bolts and stuff. They're not secured all the way to the wall. I'm looking down like there's no caging or rails. It's like, woo.
That's a part of your initiation, Bobby. Wait till you have to go down in the basement, yeah?
I've been down in the
He's been
basement.
down there.
The bar gun. This was
what he's
if you
not
go
telling
up
you is
the
he
attic
wasn't
above the
supposed
stage.
to climb the attic.
No, I just started climbing ladders and seeing where I could go.
He was looking for all those mystery rooms and doors that lead to nothing, or
Well, there was one room with like had like a cross with handcuffs on it, and there's some leather things and whips and. Just kidding, anyone watching?
That's the Queen's room. The plan.
But yeah, it's always a good show. Last year we had a cage match. I was part. No, I don't know if I was part of the cage match last year. I've been in a cage match.
Bobby
at that
was.
show.
Bobby was in the cage match last year.
I got a little bloody in there.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to do a cage match this year. I don't think it was requested, but you never know. It's always a fun time.
I do see that it doesn't say who his opponent is, but Danny Dollar's going to rejoin us there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was trying to get Danny Dollar on the podcast, but I don't think we're going to be able to make it happen. I did reach out. We did discuss a few things, but I don't think we came up with a perfect date or time. But definitely cool to have Danny Dollar come up from Tennessee. And Liv Khan is going to have a match that night
against Kelsey Magnolia,
which was her tag team partner last year that she ended up turning on. So it's going to be interesting to see how that handles, especially like you said, that she just came back from Japan. So everything's a little rougher in Japan. So let's see what she brings back with her.
Attila's going to find out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. This will be your first time coming to this show, the videotape it. So it'll be interesting. Let's see here. Big old thing, Mayfest is still just right around the corner. I was talking to Herb a little bit over the weekend, and he said the tickets are still selling like hotcakes. So definitely, if you haven't got your Mayfest tickets yet, I would recommend buying them and reserving that hotel room. It always makes it easier when you're staying in the same building that everything's happening.
And he just announced either yesterday or today, I'm seeing on his Facebook, Bill Alfonso's coming.
Yes. So I think that's going to make a nice ECW type of reunion, nice pick with those, because it's him, Sabu, and Shane Douglas. When I went up to Indiana for their little thing, Fan Fest for the Royal Rumble, he was there, Bill Alfonso was, and his line was pretty long. And I tell you why, is because he brings a shit ton of ECW heavyweight title belts, and he sells them off there as well. So if you ever want to get a replica of a cool belt, those ECW belts, man, they look awesome, and they represent such a great company. ECW, even if you're a fan of WWE or WCW, you knew about ECW and Paul Heyman and his group. That's a lot of stars came out of there, and a lot of stars that went to both WCW and WWE. RVD became the champion of WWE. Raven went to WCW.
I was gonna say, you can't talk about ECW and them coming to us and not mention the first champion, Shane Douglas, who's coming.
Yeah, that's true. I think I brought that up in this podcast before about how he won a tournament to win the NWA Heavyweight Championship. And it's a good and a bad thing. The bad thing is he dropped that title on the ground, said it didn't mean anything to him. Even though that title holds, so many memories for a lot of people, Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair and, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, all the greats that held that title. He threw it on the ground, but at the same time, he held up the first rendition of the ECW title and said, "This is what means everything to me." So it's a gang type of thing, kind of hurt the business at the time, but at the same time started a whole new
Revolution.
revolution. But
Okay, Jim,
yeah.
you never told me why I have this big man's picture. Why do we have this picture?
There's a lot of big man's pictures you have that we don't need to know about, Nate. That
That's
he
just
did.
yours because you want me to make you an OnlyFans site.
The reason why I have this man's picture on is, we do the toy stuff at the end of the shows, and we talk about, whatever we pick up. And I only picked up one thing, and that's this man's figure. This man's figure, it was an LJN. It looks, exactly like that guy. Ted, he was a strong man. Some cool things about him before he became a wrestler. He was the first man to bench press over 700 pounds. And that is, it was a record then, and it held for a long time. And matter of fact, he when he beat that record, when he got up to 700 pounds, it was actually 705 pounds. Well, 705 and a half was the record that he established.
And I don't care what the record is currently. That's still ridiculous today.
Yes. Now, unofficially, he beat that record in 91. The first record he did in 1985. In 91, at the Mr. Olympia, he bench pressed 725 pounds. Now, like I said, it was the record at the time, and they officially announced him benching that. But then they rewatched everything and said, this is a bullshit thing. They said that his arms didn't lock out properly. Now, he had bone spears in his elbows at the time. And no shit, had the surgery after this and had the bone spears taken out so he can lock up to the form that they wanted. But because he couldn't lock out to the form, they took that away from him. So, I mean, Jesus Christ, over 700 pounds he benched. And he was also known for standing straight up and lifting 400 pounds over his head.
Now, was his 700 equipment or raw? Was it
raw?
Raw.
He was a big supporter of lifting raw. So it was incredible feats of strength. Matter of fact,
right now the raw record holder is 782 pounds.
Yeah, that's incredible. He was the first one in the WWF at the time that was given the name the World's Strongest Man. So before Mark Henry, it was this guy right here. Now, technically, in the WWF, you would call him an enhancement talent because he did not last long. He did have a good career in wrestling, but in WWF at the time, his career was not long in there. I think he just made it a year or 2 years, but he was in there when they were creating the LJN figures, and that's why he got one made. As a matter of fact, he said he got, they don't get paid all at once for the figures. They get paid as the figure sells. And, I found that out by Bob Orton. He told us that, sometimes, even when he was not in the WWF anymore, he was still getting checks because his figure was selling. He had said that altogether he made about $75,000 from his figure. So that's a pretty good chunk of change back in the 80s, you know. But he had worked just about everywhere. So he's worked in WCCW. He's worked in Calgary for Stu Hart before the Stu Hart came after his stint in the WWF. He was known, he did do WrestleMania 2, and that's why I was watching WrestleMania 2 before the podcast came on. His big thing in there, which was a battle royal, but it was wrestlers versus NFL players. And so they had the Refrigerator Perry in there. They had other football players in there, but they also had like wrestlers.
I think they had Lyle in there too.
He was
Lyle Alzado.
Yeah.
At WrestleMania 2.
Yep.
I think he was in there.
But Andre the Giant was in there. You know, Big John Studd. You had the Hart Foundation. You had the Bees, which is Brian Blair. You know, so you had a big mixture of, Haku was in there, the Iron Sheik was in there. You know, the big thing about WrestleMania 2 was the headliner. Of course, that was Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy, which was a great match. It was in a steel cage, the old blue steel cage. Classic, you know, cage match. But he didn't, you know, I think he lasted maybe 5 or 6 minutes in the Battle Royal. He was knocked out pretty early. But, you know, after his wrestling career, then he became an actor. He was in the movie The Fighter, where Mark Wahlberg was an old boxer. And he was being trained by his brother, and his brother was a drug addict. It's a damn good movie, but
wasn't the brother Christian Bale?
Yeah, Christian Bale. He was in that movie. He's been in Law and Order and Law and Order SUV. Yeah, he had some serious acting roles. He's been actually in a couple of movies too. He was in a movie with Denzel Washington. So he's definitely been around the block. You know,
he's not the one that played Bane, is he?
No, I don't think he played Bane.
No, that was Ed.
But he had a very good career, you know, being a wrestler, being a weightlifter, and, you know, highlights. The guy that Hulk Hogan stole all his stuff from, his name is escaping me, but
I can see his face, but I don't remember his name. We have a video of him too.
Good. Roll that video, and I'll try to remember his name as it comes back to me.
No, it's on our podcast.
Oh, it's on our podcast. Okay.
Yeah. It's on our YouTube page, not on our podcast.
Yeah. Shoot. He was the first guy to talk about his arms being pythons. Always wore a bandana like Jesse Ventura. Man, I wish I could come up with his name. But he was a weightlifter, and he was friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger and worked out with him for a long time. But he had taken a lot of steroids in his time, and his health just went downhill. He ended up having a hip replacement, and I remember this clearly because it was on like Dateline or one of those reporting channels, because he was talking about how steroids was rampant in the WWF at the time, and that's why he took them.
We should have remembered superstar Billy Graham.
Yes, thank God. But yeah, I remember it clearly because they were talking about his hip. Like the bone in his hip was like so brittle that they could just scoop it out with a spoon. But When he was going through his rough time, Ted actually donated like $4,000 to help him with his surgeries and stuff, and that's just incredible. You hear about wrestlers going through hard times, and this was before CAC was be chiming in and helping out wrestlers. Nowadays, you hear a lot about Chris Jericho. He gives back a lot to a lot of the wrestlers that go through some times where, he tries to do it anonymously, but somehow it always gets leaked. I don't know, by him or by other people, but he's well known to donate to other wrestlers. So that's kind of cool because he only had a small stint in the actual wrestling world, but he said that Graham had helped him out so much. And you can see it in his wrestling matches because I went down that rabbit hole and watched a few of his videos, and there was a video of a match with him and Big John Studd, and literally the only moves that are happening in this match is forearms to the chest. And periodically they would try to lift each other up to see who was the strongest guy, but then you get matches where he's in Stu Hart's Calgary promotion, and it's like a different totally guy. He's, probably Stu probably stretched him. All those horror stories about those wrestlers getting stretched by Stu Hart, but he probably got some better training by Stu. But I always liked this figure, even growing up, when I had one of these growing up.
Yeah, you're probably rubbing his chest, you perv.
But he just looks like a wrestler, besides his wearing the singlet and stuff, but he's built like a brick shithouse.
He's got that lead.
But just like I heard someone talking about in the crowd that they don't care what they say about these wrestlers nowadays, how they're short or skinny. He goes, I don't care what they say. Wrestling is always been a big guy sport. The people come to see the big guys wrestle. I think he was trying to point that out because we have a lot of big guys in our locker room, whether it be me, Kowalski, Attila, was a really big guy. He's kind of shrunk a little bit now, but you got Peyton Ayers, and you got other big guys, that Sean, was it Michael Sean or Sean, that big guy that just came into the promotion here lately.
I think it's Michael.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels.
See, I would say Shawn Michaels, but I don't think it's got to be Michael Sean.
I think it's Michael Sean.
Is it Michael Sean?
Yeah, Shawn Michaels is another guy.
Yeah, but you guys have trained two rookies that are skinny and small, but they're quick and put on a good show.
Yeah, they wrestled this month too.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that people love to see the big guys wrestle. They come to see the Brock Lesnar. They come to see the big guys. Not that they don't come to see little guys. People like a Bobby D or people not. But and that's what I heard in the audience. That it could be just that guy's opinion, but I think a lot of people have that same opinion that when it comes to big guys, they prefer to see the big guys wrestling and beating the shit out of each other and stuff like that. But enough about Ted Arcia. That was the only figure I did pick up. I was glad that it was an LJN because I still quite a few figures from completing that line. But I do want to shout out one of our followers and a friend of the podcast and a friend of SICW and a guy I would consider a friend is Don Simmons. No relation to Herb Simmons. He's just a guy who happened to come into an SICW show and comes every single time now. He's a good guy. I traveled with him up to Indiana. It was me, him, and Nick to see that Fan Fest up there. But he loaned me some stuff, and I just want to kind of go over it with him, with you guys. The first being is a new book for me to read. Man, look at all those are black and white. You know, this is going to be a great one. It's called When It Was the Big Time. 100 years of history of North California professional wrestling. You know, he's not pictured in here, but I guarantee you Gorgeous George is going to be in this book. And he was probably the first wrestling superstar. Because, I mean, everyone knew Luthez, but Gorgeous George was the most flamboyant, I think I said that right, flamboyant wrestler. Flamboyant, yeah. Wrestler of his heyday. And he was the first
okay.
one.
You have that Aussie accent that comes in every now and then.
Well, are you talking about my accent? Are you saying I have an accent?
Yeah, your little Aussie accent, because they say everything with an R down there.
Oh.
No, okay.
But, you know, he is like the first one that did sold bobby pins, because he was known for having bobby pins in his hair. He was the first one, like back in the 80s, Rick Martel used to do this spray called Arrogance. He was the first one that would spray. A matter of fact, if you ever look up one of his matches, and it's from California, you see a whole bunch of them from California. He had this spray, and it was labeled Florida Air. And because he would say California's air sucked so bad that he bottled Florida air, and he would spray himself with that so he would be energized and healthy again because the smog in California was so bad. But then it also turned into like an arrogant spray that he would spray his opponents down, and sometimes he would spray his opponents down before he even locked up, so he would clean them. You know, so, but yeah, definitely he had some great matches. Definitely should look him up. One of the, like I said, one of the first superstars of professional wrestling. Especially, he made it big right when TV, you know, wrestling moved from radio to TV. So, of course, when you only have 3 or 4 channels, you know, you bond with what you see, and he was definitely on the TV a lot.
Yep, I'm from that. I'm from there, and I saw Gorgeous George a bunch of times.
You're from that era?
That area.
How old he is.
Yeah.
But then I am still one of those that have a VCR, still have a DVD player, and it's a great thing too, because I tell you, when the WWE first had their own app or whatever you want to call it, you know, you could look up, and if you just wanted to watch WrestleMania, you can just type in WrestleMania, or if you wanted to watch a particular wrestler back in the 80s or 90s, you can just type in that guy's name and it will pop on. Nowadays, when you look into Peacock, since the WWF sold their network, that's what it was called, to Peacock, you can't research stuff like that anymore. Nowadays, unless it's the month of a WrestleMania, because it's like if it's the month of the pay-per-view, then they'll have other WrestleManias in that same category. But if it's not, say if it's in the summertime and you want to watch WrestleMania, you can't do it. You'll be watching clips. So they'll throw in, you know, a 30-minute clip of the whole 2.5-hour WrestleMania. So you don't really get the whole show. So, you know, I pick up DVDs, you know, when I find them cheap, or VHS tapes when I find them cheap. Get a lot of them off of Facebook. You know, Facebook, you can find a lot of wrestling stuff. So Don has I don't know if he said he was giving them to me or if I was just going to be able to watch them. I think he switched these to DVD. But a bunch of classic tapes. Buddy Rogers, awesome guy. You know, we just posted a video on him on our channel as well. Him versus Luthez, which is definitely a classic. But you got so many people. I'm going to actually have to switch and put on my cheaters. The original Sheik versus Bobo Brazil. Antonio Rocco versus Han Schmidt. Special guest referee Joe Louis. Let's see here. Ed Carpenter versus Skull Murphy. That's just a classic. Fritz von Erich, which a lot of times you can't find anything about Fritz except for the WCCW days. But these are actually matches of him before he even founded WCCW. Bulldog Brower, Bearcat Wright, Haystacks Cahoon. This one's got Gorgeous George versus Jesse James. I'm sure it's not the outlaw Jesse James.
Yeah, it might be.
But it'd be pretty cool if it was. The Fabulous Kangaroos versus Moose Chocolate and Mighty Atlas. You know, see, these are just going to be freaking awesome to watch and study and pull some old wrestling moves from. That's what I really love to do. And then this one, World Pro Wrestling. This is old school Japanese wrestling. So basically, it was the Americans versus the Japanese.
It's like the guy from Mudport that got paralyzed.
Well, this one has actually got the Barbarian on the cover, and God, I forget his name. Dr. Death Steve Williams. I can't believe I forgot his name.
I didn't even look like Dr. Death.
Yeah, he's actually got an autograph by the Barbarian too.
Nice.
Let's see, right there. Yeah. But man, so this is awesome. Dr. Death versus Antonio Orochi. So awesome. And then one more, also World Pro Wrestling from Japan. Of course, it's got Stan Hansen. It's got Jimmy Snuka, Chris Adams, Hacksaw, different Hacksaw Higgins. Never heard of him. Have to look into him. Congo the Barbarian. I wonder what he looks like. You know, sometimes names get messed up, so I wonder if that's Haku or if it's just a Barbarian. So man, this is great time watching these and reading that book. I was talking to a guy again over the weekend, and we were talking about wrestling, of course, and he was asking me, what else do I do? And I said, nothing. I said, I am consumed by wrestling. I said, if I'm not watching wrestling, I'm researching wrestling matches, for the students or for myself. And if I'm not watching wrestling, I'm reading about wrestling. And if that's not it, I'm putting up a wrestling ring because I own a wrestling ring, or I'm wrestling myself, so there's not figuratively, but wrestling and pro matches. Not
figuratively, so literally.
Oh, yeah, I said that wrong.
All right, this is where out of the PG segment.
Yep, you've gone. Hacksaw Higgins, he was in the NWA, WCW, WCCW, All Japan, Mid-South, Continental Wrestling, Central State.
Hacksaw was used by a lot of people, besides Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you have.
Yeah, this is Hacksaw Higgins. This is Hacksaw Higgins.
Oh, yeah, I get it. I'm just saying that Hacksaw has been used so much. You know, kind of like Nature Boy. There's so many Nature Boys. Ric
We
Flair
have the
just
original
happens to
on our page.
be, yeah, Buddy Rogers, Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers. Um,
Exaw Higgins was the NWA Central States heavyweight champion for 19 days in 1984.
some people only have it for a day. So as long as you got there, and they could
Hey, he
put
had
that
longer
on.
than
Right. But yeah, let's just circle back around to 100 episodes. That is extremely crazy. Um, we just do this for fun, and I still have fun doing it, and I'm going to keep on doing it with you guys. I think it's amazing me on so many things because we haven't been around that long. I think before I said it was a year, but it's been like 2 years, right? 2022.
2023 is when we first started.
Oh, 23. So 2 years.
The very end of 2023.
So not quite 2 years because it'll be the end of 2025 when we get 2 years. But
November this year, 2 years.
we have accomplished so much, and so much just in the last month or two. Though it's been crazy because not too long ago we were, I hate to say, begging for 500 subscribers, and you guys just took the ball and ran with it and got us up to 1,000,000.
I think it was those sexual favors you were offering there, Jim.
Well, I mean, if it helps,
He's got
But,
that flavor saver on his chin for a reason.
That is true.
But
Mustache ride.
the thing about the people that we've had, and like me and you were talking before we started tonight, the first 14 episodes or something like that, we did it on our own. We didn't do it with a special guest, and we weren't talking about other wrestling promotions. It was strictly SICW. We might have thrown in, talking about Broadway just from historical facts of mine and Bobby's background. But most of it was just SICW. And we kind of branched out a bit, talking about other promotions, whether it be New Breed or Mid-States or this new one, this Midwest Coalition. Ooh, man, excuse me. WWE.
And we brought in other promoters onto the podcast.
Yeah, ACW. And then
AIWF guy.
Yeah.
President.
Yeah, I forgot about him. And then, this last one with Travis Orndorff, that was a good step in the right path, I think, because we're definitely going to get some more people like that. I'm shooting for one that I don't want to talk about until I ask him because I haven't asked him yet. But yeah, James Beard, great. He set us up so well. He's the one who got us first talking about the Von Erichs again. And then the movie come out, and then we got him back on to talk about his position with the movie.
He got us in the premiere, didn't he, or the pre-screen? Wasn't it James that got us on the pre-screen for Iron Claw?
No, it was a guy. It was a gentleman that we interviewed on the podcast. He just wrote that book about the fans. We had him on, and just from talking to him, he was the one that hooked me up with the guy who was putting on that premiere. And of course, then we got in there to see that one, and we got in there to see another premiere movie.
Yeah, for the Love of the
Show by Jeremy Housewright.
Yes.
Yep.
And he is, speaking of him, he's just coming out with part 2 of that book. And we kind of broke that kind of bit because we all talked about it on the podcast about how he needs, that book was so good that he needed to do a part 2. and expand on everyone's experiences. So I mean, we've done quite a bit. We've talked about the fan fest that we had. And I would love to say that we had a part in getting people to the fan fest. We're talking to the guy this past weekend, Nate was, and then I connected with him on Sunday. I got his business card in the other room, otherwise I would tell you his name. But he's what?
Chad
from Iowa, who does the George Tragus Lou Thez Hall of Fame. We're going to get him on. It's confirmed he's going to do it. So we just need to set up a date. And, maybe a little bit closer to when that show is coming on. But it's going to be awesome. So we've done a lot of great stuff, gone to a lot of great buildings. We've had Wrestling at the Chase, some of the footage on our podcast. We've had some of the footage from the MAC shows on our podcast. The racing, we're going back to the racetrack this year, and it's the first time SICW has ever been to the races. We covered it, so we've got we've done great things, and it's just been.
As we get closer to this year's race, we'll release the full show from last year's races.
Yes. I mean, I'm really looking forward to what we're going to have coming up, because now we're more focused now than we have been in the past. We're kind of getting all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, moving forward and trying to get this out there to everyone. Which again, thank you for the subscribers and the shares and the likes, and continue, please, because we love to get this bigger and better and broadcasted to more people. Done a great job in the last couple months. I mean, we shot from 500 to over $1,000, and it was just like a countdown, because it was happening a couple hundred at a time every week, and then like 1 week we just had over 300. It was just crazy. It was awesome. But yeah, so if you like, what we got here, just, tell us in the comments, share our content. We'd love to keep doing this. Yeah. And if not, just come to one of the shows. The next one, like I said, is March 29th in East St. Louis at the Shriners. And then the next one at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds is April 5th. Wherever we are, most of the time it's doors open at 6. And this one I think is going to start a little earlier. And it might say it on the card. Does it say what time this one starts?
6 p.m.
Oh, 6
Bell
p.m.
time 6. Bell time at 6.
Bell time at 6. Yeah, so it is an hour early, so I'm glad I brought that up. So, doors open at 5, bell time's at 6. That way we can get people in and out a little bit earlier. But it is a great place. The parking lot is all fenced in. It is protected, and, they have security guards watching over everything to make sure everything goes great. And it's always been a great show. I think this is our third or fourth year out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first show you guys did, they didn't have a belt. The second year they did, and you've held it 2 years, so this will be the next show for that.
Yeah.
I think this is 4 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's about it. I think we're gonna hit up a few more toys. You didn't get your box yet, right? It's even though it's a new month, probably comes
No,
towards the
not
new
yet.
month.
I'm sure I'll have it. Like, I got my confirmation email that it's shipped, but it is not here yet.
Okay.
Bobby,
So I'll
talk
look
about
forward
the
to
belt
those.
behind you. The belt that's behind you, Bobby, the little Devil's belt. What's that for?
That's just our first place championship at our tournament. However, we at our last Devils show, we had all the wrestlers sign it. and it'll be auctioned off at our next Devil show on August 9th.
There we go.
That's awesome.
Well, Devil's SICW show on
Right.
August 9th.
That's awesome, bro. A devil on the wall.
All
But
right,
for the
well,
Fan Fest
gentlemen,
guys, if any of you that are watching this went to watch the Iron Claw and you want to meet the man behind Zach, he's going to be at the Fan Fest, Kevin Von Erich. He'll be there signing autographs and
I mean,
answering
that's
questions.
definitely. I've met Kevin once before when Herb brought him in years ago, and I wasn't big into taking pictures with everyone that come in, and I kind of wish I would have back then, but some strange reason, and a lot of people are like that they wish they would have. But Kevin was one that I wish I would have, because he was always one of his family was my father's favorite wrestlers, and I would hear Von Erich stories all the time. But I definitely got some cool stuff to get his autograph this time around, especially those promotional posters that we got for going to that premiere.
Yeah, the one I got from the producers from A24, I'm going to have them sign that one and have Zach sign and then stick it on the wall.
There you go. All right, gentlemen, I think that's all I got for you this week. I know it's not 2 hours plus, but I don't think we needed to do that this time. If we had Herb Simmons on the podcast, I'm sure we would be going into hour 3. But we'll try to get him on next week when he's feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, the first time, our first guest on the show, 4 hours. 4-hour long podcast. And we still had to cut that one short.
I think I remember it being after 1 o'clock and be like, I have to work at 5 in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah. He. You think I can talk? That guy can just talk circles around me. But so could Travis, man. Travis Ordoff, man, he was a talker.
Bobby and I were just NPC sitting there. We had nothing to add. It was you two just going at it.
Yeah. I did get complimented on that one by Herb. He goes, man, it really sounded like you did your search history on him. And I said, well, I do that on everyone. I try to find out every little detail I can on people when I bring them in. Some people, a person got in trouble. I wouldn't say got in trouble, but a podcaster that we never talk about, and I won't reveal his name now, put someone on within the last week and didn't do any research and caused a stir. But if he would have done some research, he probably would have never had that person on. And now that video's taken down. So, that's what happens when you don't do research.
He shouldn't have a show anyway.
Well, sometimes people just want to have on hot topics. But even if it's a hot topic or a topic that is aimed to what's the word? Not piss off the other person, but
just like a shock value kind of thing.
Yeah, shock value. You got to know the history of both people, to get it right. And this gentleman didn't research, and it is what it is. But that's not this podcast. I want to know if I'm having a special guest on, I want to hit them with questions that no one else does. Or if I heard them in another podcast and they didn't hit a certain subject, or I didn't like the answer and I wanted more detail. And that's a lot to do with Travis's podcast with us. How I got Travis on is I watched him on another podcast, and I felt like they didn't ask him all the questions they should. And so I wanted him on our podcast because I wanted to know the answers, But Yeah,
So
Herb
you were
Simmons.
nosy. Mhm.
Yes. And, well, Herb Simmons, like he told me, he goes, looked like you really did your research. And I said, well, that's what I try to do. But if you guys like this stuff, just like I said, you shoot me shoot a comment down on one of the videos and tell us what you like and who you want us to try to get on, and we'll try to do it. Because I feel that we're getting bigger enough, our name's getting out there enough, and if we keep going on this track, we will probably be able to get more legends on, and family members of legends on. There's 2 people that I have in my head that I want to get on, and I want to see if I can get that going. But
Yeah, and I've been working on a couple of legends to bring them on. We're just not narrowing things down just yet.
and sometimes it takes time. It takes the right moment, like Travis, how he apologized for not being on the previous show that we announced him for. But it benefited us because we got 2+ hours out of him that night that he came on.
Yeah, he cleared his whole day, including kicking his girlfriend out so he can spend time with us, which wouldn't have happened the week prior.
Yes, and it's been one of our most popular videos here recently, for a podcast. Our wrestling matches, we see a little bit more views on, but those wrestling matches are only, 10, 12, 13 minutes, where that podcast was over 2 hours. So.
And for people that are going to be watching this, go back a couple days and watch the squared ring cut of the pizza eating contest, because that's going out air tomorrow, Wednesday. So when you're watching this the day before, watch it.
And if you were at the show this past Saturday, that's the little trophy that Kowalski was carrying around to the ring to rub in my face.
Well,
Kowalski's used to holding little things in his hand, yeah?
That's what I've heard. But all right, gentlemen, that's all I have for this week. I'm sure next week I'll have some more LJNs, hopefully in my future, as I narrow down this collection. I've almost pulled the trigger on trying to collect WCW figures. There's a certain they had multiple different lines, but there's a certain line that is very comparable to the LJNs. So I almost pulled the trigger on Big Bubba Rogers because it was a very mint figure. And, he's the big boss man in WWE or F. Big Bubba Rogers was in WCW and looked very cool. But
You probably should have.
I should have, and now that I'm talking about it again, I'm starting to get that regret. But I don't know. Maybe I'll research him a little bit more after this podcast and pull the trigger. Yeah, if you guys stick on for just a few minutes afterwards, it'd be great. But I'm going to call it from everyone at the Squared Ring Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. You guys have a good night.
Have a good night, guys.